So this conversation that we're having today it was triggered by a couple of things. First off, as a coach who helps people build foundations in their business, right? Everybody, most of the people that I do coach, they don't have to be taught how to sell real estate. They're successful in real estate, they know how to sell, and they're doing a fabulous job on it. What happens though is you produce so much that you need help. So the challenge I have as a coach, and many of my clients through the years, not just recently, but it's been for years, is getting help, right? Building out those foundations underneath you. And one piece of those foundations, it's not just systems and processes, it's people. And so I've went through several VAs, I've had several in-person assistants as my real estate business. And so I know the struggle. And what we're seeing now, well, over the last 5 to 7 years, we saw a bunch of people out there going, go out and hire an ops manager. Okay. And the problem with that one statement is that you hear that from a stage, or you hear it on a podcast, or you hear it somewhere in a webinar, or you're in a mastermind with people, and they don't clarify what that means. So what ends up happening is that we have a structural problem. And then I read Laith's bio today, and it kind of tied in with that thought process. So Laith, and I'm gonna try and do your name right, Masarweh.
Oh, it's good. Masarweh, yeah, it's a lot of letters. Okay. It's just like half the alphabet.
Laith Masarweh. Okay, so Laith is the CEO of Assistantly, and many of you understand what the VA companies are out there. We have a lot of them. I get asked all the time, what VA company, who do you go hire your VAs from, yada, yada. So through the years, there's been many, okay? There's some that I don't recommend at all, and I'm very vocal about it. There are some that I recommend, and then they might disappear. They go out of business, or they no longer take clients. Something happens in the process, right? So, but here's the problem. I read in your bio, Laith, that your experience with the way companies hire was broken when you worked in corporate, and then you went into running your own company. You built a real estate marketing company and then sold it, exited it. And you saw that the hiring process was broken, and where resumes plus 4 30-minute interviews is what people were using to hire somebody, and that's not a system. And that most hires fail within 90 days. So those of you that have failed, you're in good company, because we've all done it, right? And it's not the candidate's fault, it's the process. So you said Assistantly exists to change the way companies think about global talent. And in this could have been a couple of years ago, it's 5 years in, you've placed elite operators from the Philippines and LATAM into companies like, not just real estate companies, acquisitions.com, which we know that as Alex Hermosi, and now Sharon Srivatsa is the CEO. You've also placed people in Lowe's, Home Building Center, and that your process places candidates within 72 hours, and the placements are 97% successful. So as you guys can see, when I was at the Forward event, Neil Dinger's event over in Vegas in July, and I ran into a lot of agents and real estate people. And every time I'd ask them, because a lot of these people at that event are social media types, they're out there doing lots of video and lots of stuff like that. And I'm asking them, how are you finding time to work with AI and do video and be a marketing guru and still sell real estate? Because that's the acid test question, right? And 3 or 4 of the people that I talked to literally said, I use a unicorn from Assistantly. And I went, okay, when that happens in my universe, I have to go find out more. So I had heard of Assistantly. I know Sharon well. I texted Sharon and said, hey, you're involved with this company Assistantly, and I need to know what makes them unicorns versus another VA company out there, because there's a lot of them. And he says, I'll do better than that. Let me just connect you with Laith, the CEO. And I said, great. So Laith and I connected and had a really great conversation for almost an hour. And you guys, if you know me, you know I drill tech companies and any vendors or affiliated services. They're not going to get a pass when I'm talking to them. Okay, I'm not here to buy their product. I'm here to vet their product. Okay, so that's when I said in the emails I sent out to you guys, let me be your business manager for an hour. That's kind of what I'm doing, bringing Laith here today. So when I talk to people like Laith and owners of companies like he has, or any tech stacks in that, I'm rapid fire and I'm like, hey, I need to know direct information coming back so I can know what to tell realtors. I know what to tell team leaders and broker owners, because I can't pitch a product that can't prove it to me first. Now, I have caveat, no experience with his company. I have never hired his company, and I have no clients who are currently using his company. Okay. Transparency. But what he showed me made me blink a couple of times and say, this is different. Okay. And I have clients and have past clients who have hired operations managers based on what they were asked to do, and they did it because you guys are doers. However, and I just did a podcast about this, when you hear operations manager, they come from sometimes outside our industry. That is the number one problem. We cannot hire people outside our industry that don't know anything about us. We are a different animal in real estate. You have to bring people in around you that have some sort of experience. I mean, even Laith has a assistant company, but he built a real estate marketing company and exited it. Okay. So he has real estate background. He knows what we deal with. So that's the first thing. Number two, we hire TCs and LCs and virtual assistants and VAs and marketing assistants and all that through online jobs PH, through Fiverr, through other VA companies. And I've been through the process many, many times for myself and for my clients. And usually they're headhunters. They go out, they have a group of people, they bring you 5. They have some pictures of postcards that these people have created and a video that they've edited. And now you're going to talk to them on a video and interview them for 3 minutes. And then you're going to end up picking one. That's the normal process of hiring a VA, especially the international VAs. When Laith showed me his product and what he has built, this is a true product that actually vets the VA's knowledge. So that was the first thing I asked him, and I'm going to start with that. So welcome, Laith. Thank you for being here today and being kind of on the hot seat, but I know you've got the wherewithal to handle it. So, so the first thing I
appreciate the intro.
Yeah, the first thing I'm going to ask is define. You based your marketing on your company around unicorn VA, operational VAs. Define unicorn. And what does that mean?
Yep.
So,
oh, yeah, I will. Yep.
Oh, muted.
I think I'm unmuted. Am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I know that was actually the first question you asked me. You're like, a lot of unicorn talk, unicorns all over your website. How do you actually identify a unicorn? So just for simple, when people think of unicorn, they think of it in 2 different ways. So when you say unicorn, sometimes people think of it as a jack of all trades, right? So this person's a total unicorn. They can do admin and operations and marketing and client success, which sounds really, really appealing, right? Somebody that could do everything. But what happens is when you hire somebody like that, they're really good at admin, they're really good at operations, they're not so good at marketing, they're not great at client success. So it is really hard to find somebody that can nail every bucket. When I think of unicorn, I think of somebody with the hard skills, whether it's an ops manager, a marketing person, a client success person that has the hard skills. So they have the industry experience, they have the knowledge and foundation of their own responsibilities. That's one part of it. The second part of it is the soft skills component. I think that's what really makes a unicorn. It's not somebody that could just do the job and do the job exceptionally well, but that can think, It's like, well, all of my clients over the years are like, I want somebody that is proactive and takes initiative and is critical thinking and is responsive and that gets shit done. And like, like that's like, those are the common traits I've heard for the last 6 years. And I was like, wow, it seems like everybody wants somebody that is proactive and takes initiative and is strategic, right? That doesn't just do the job and follow the SOP or process, but that it can actually suggest and improve it while doing it. Right, strategic integrators or implementers. And when I started like really diving into like what does a unicorn actually mean, and you can hire a unicorn in any bucket. Is you do need to have the hard skills, but you do need to have those soft skills that kind of make you irreplaceable. That's why like our slogan is yes, the unicorns, but like if you look at my LinkedIn, my banner is like hire the humans AI cannot replace, right? Because I don't think AI can essentially
say that one more time.
But if you looked at my LinkedIn banner, like one of the newer slogans that I put are, is when people work with the systemly is to hire the humans that AI cannot replace. So it's kind of tied into that unicorn-ish type of, traits, is because you want people that think the extra mile. You want people that are proactive. You gotta understand, you got to prompt Claude and you got to, but like, it's also very nice when we have team members that work for our clients that just proactively are like, hey, I saw this, I did this, and you're like, oh, cool, I didn't even ask you to do that. That makes it a lot easier for me. One less thing to worry about. So that's how I would identify it, like in short.
So I love that, because now we have to enter in the conversation of how do they know to think in advance? How do they know to do that? And how do they have experience? Now we're talking about international VAs in the Philippines, mostly. And how are they versed at the levels that we need them to be in the United States or even Canada real estate market?
Sure. Yeah, we source from 3 different areas right now. Philippines being the primary, especially for real estate. Like I still I've explored every talent pool, like the best talent, whether you use us or you don't use us, the best talent that you'll find globally with real estate industry experience is the Philippines. It doesn't get better than the Philippines. I know people are like, tried it, doesn't work. You probably used the wrong person, wrong search, too much in the job. There's a lot obviously we can go over. But Philippines, bear to none, is like the best for that type of talent. The good thing about the Philippines is like the VA or offshore global hiring has been done for 20, 25, 30 years now. So like they, like when you real estate, like Yvonne mentioned, is like completely different beast. Like you can't have like tech experience and come in and be like a real estate operations manager. And if you've ever done that, you've probably seen that it's failed. I've seen it at a high level. Hire an ex Google $180,000 director of operations, and it fails after like 90 days. And they're like, oh my God, what do I do? And I'm like, you should have never hired somebody that doesn't know your industry, because it's very fast paced, very, you guys work 7 days a week. So Philippines has that, really strong real estate industry experience. And then they have really strong experience with like the role and responsibilities, whether it's admin, executive assistant support, operations, systems, processes, marketing for luxury, marketing not for luxury, transaction coordination, like tech, like the tech, they know Follow Up Bosk and Skyslope and Dot Loop and KV Core. Like I could probably recite every real estate tool tech because I see it all the time, but they're not just well versed with the industry. They're well versed with the role and responsibilities, and they're well versed with the tech. Like even honestly in the United States, that's even really hard to find. So like the fact that you can find that globally, now you have an extra, another talent pool that you could tap in that's affordable, highly skilled. And the last thing is like, well, okay, so great. It says, they say that they've been a real estate operations coordinator, assistant manager for 5 years. How do I know that they've actually been one? Anybody can put that on a resume, and that is absolutely the truth. Anybody can lie about it. Anybody can interview well. They can prep really well, and then they get to the job, and you're like, "Did you say real estate ops or real estate bops or real estate dops?" Like, I don't understand. Like, I thought you said you knew what you were talking about, but like, you get to the job and you have no idea. And essentially, what that's what went to Yvonne's. Like, I actually think hiring is broken fundamentally, not just globally, domestically, where like there's this thing where you'll post a job, you'll get a ton of applications, it'll be like, oh, cool, Yvonne looks great. Wow, her resume is really strong. I'm going to interview Yvonne. Wow, Yvonne reminds me of myself, which is wrong. You don't want somebody that reminds you of yourself. That's a terrible thing to hire for, by the way. You're always going to get burned.
It's so funny. I say that all the time. I go, please don't hire somebody you like right out of the gate, because they're just like you.
I'm like, you want to compliment. You want to compliment, like you don't want like a substitute for yourself. Like, I know people are like, I want, somebody to like be just like me. I'm like, no, you do not. You want somebody to be exactly the opposite of you, because that's why you're hiring. So that happens. So then you interview, and then you go, okay, hey, Julie wants to interview. And Julie goes, hey, I want you to interview with my husband, Mark. Now Mark interviews, and Mark goes, well, Yvonne's great. And then you guys hire this person. How do you know that they could perform? You don't.
You don't.
Right? You go with your gut. So like, how about if I can mitigate your gut feeling, right? And what I actually built on our end is I actually ask our candidates to perform a mock simulation of the actual role that we're hiring for that specific client before we even have a conversation with them. Because yes, you submitted your resume. Awesome. Your LinkedIn is optimized. Cool. You optimize your profile in application data to get into our system, or try to get into our system. Great. Now we're going to ask you for 2 hours to perform. And what happens is a lot of candidates will look at that, and that is an automatic filter.
Okay, this is, and thank you. This is a great segue. This is where you guys all need to pay attention, because I'm going to have Laith open up the product and show you what the gauntlet that he puts people through. Could take maybe 10 minutes or so, just to gloss over, if that.
I can show you guys in real time. Yvonne knows me. I'm very honest and transparent. Like, you're going to see our whole proprietary system. I'm not worried about you guys duping it, because I built it myself.
And trust me, I am not in the camp that should go out and build some vibe thing on call.
I'm a massive coder myself now. So essentially, so this is actually, this is, we're hiring for an Australian-based company. So what we do is, like, I can create any job, right? But like, we wrote a job description on the responsibilities, the qualifications, the tools in which they're going to use, obviously the benefits in which they get here. I can iterate this with AI. If, Yvonne's like, well, I want to add this or subtract this, like, I can easily just put in my notes and it'll tighten it or make it more concise, which is really nice. And then what happens is, based off the job description, it's going to give me like very specific requirements. Like, they need to have experience in business development and sales and client success. They have to have real estate industry experience. They have to have phone sales-based experience with CRMs. Working Australian hours is really important. So those are like all common recs. The difference is this. So
stop right there. If any of you use the product Wise Hire or any of those online sites, this might look similar. It looks familiar, okay? It's a kind of the same thing. You're creating a job. You're going to post it out there. It's asking you all the criteria. This is the part that is completely different, and I've never seen anything like it.
So what happens is, like, I ask people to perform. And it's not just like, give me like a generic simulation on a real estate business development manager. It's like, this is for the client in Australia. So everything is inferred. It's a Sydney-based agency. Like, I know the client very well. They've hired a couple people, and it gives them a scenario. It gives them what you'll deliver. It gives them very specific questions, like, hey, write one message per landlord, write the recovery plan, write the 30-day plan to re-engage the CRM contacts, write the 9 a.m. stand-up. You're like, okay, cool. So like, you have people answer questions. But then what I also, and this is actually a newer feature Yvonne did not see, what I actually also asked them to do is I said, now give me a video walkthrough. So record a short video and paste the Loom link that covers these two things. Why are you the right fit for this role? And use specific examples from what you produce in this assessment. It's like, that just helps me evaluate critical thinking. The second thing I asked is, what didn't you see in this assessment that you feel didn't properly showcase your superpowers for this role? So like, I want somebody to brag about themselves. Like, why are you like the superior candidate in comparison to Jack, Jane and Johnny, right? And then another thing is, I encourage AI usage. So I don't want you to like think from the noggin. Yes, you think from the noggin, but like, I want you to like, tell me how you used AI. Cause everybody's like, I want somebody AI enabled. I want somebody that knows AI. I don't use AI. Do they know how to use AI? So like, we make sure that everybody uses AI. Tell us how you use AI for this task, which tool you use and how you use them. What's really cool about this is we actually have candidates that will upload the transcript in which they used for this prompt. So like, I can actually read the transcript of how they prompted, how they engaged with it. So that also shows me, critical thinking and initiative. What happens is, when an applicant applies, there's the basic information. They are required to do like an intro video, an operating profile, which helps us understand the way they like lead, delegate, communicate, which I'll show you guys here in a second. And then they get to this stage. And what happens is most applicants, when you ask them to do or perform, they go, no, thanks.
I'm out.
I'm out. Yeah, I'm not going to work. You essentially want me to work 2 hours for free, right? And this has always been like when I launched this, the team, we went back and forth and they're like, you're going to make people work for free for 2 hours? I'm like, I'm not making them work for free. I mean, don't they want to showcase themselves differently than, and get a job? I'm giving them, this is an opportunity. That's fantastic. It pays, it paid very well. And, I said, watch the difference. There's going to be candidates that look at this and are like, see, I'm out. And there's going to be candidates that are like, I'm going to work my ass off on this and showcase myself in a unique and different way. And those are the candidates I want. So I'll show you just from our internal systems, right here. I could go to this one, overview. Okay. So this was recently just launched. So like 83 people applied, you'll see, but like a lot of people did not complete it. We moved to different submissions. I think this was maybe yesterday. People submitted and then we move it so you could only really see like only a handful of people have actually submitted it, which is a good thing for us to understand. If I go and I understand like Joan's profile, it signals like, hey, Beverly Ann is a strong fit based off the requirements, her JD fit, her day one. If I go into Joan, we're going to endorse her most likely. I'm like a data nerd. So I collect like too much data on our candidates. So when I go into Joan, and this is transparent for you guys to really understand how we see it internally. So I go into Joan, I go, okay, great, Joan. It gives me everything about Joan. Here's her intro video. Here's her skills. Here's her apps and tools. Here's her overview. We actually, one of the things that we do for candidates is also like, how do you best work and what's your working style and how do you communicate? Because like that is also very important. So just because somebody's a really good operations person or a client growth manager, that doesn't mean they're a great client growth manager for myself, but they might be a great way for, the way Yvonne operates. She, likes to operate, very hands-on. And I want to meet with you and I want to collaborate via Slack every day. And I'm like, don't talk to me. Don't Zoom with me. I don't want to. That's kind of how I operate. So really, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I'm like a very async guy with my headphones. That's why I code in the background. But like, that is really important because if like I have people like, where I've hired and they're like, hey. And I'm like, dude, if you're bugging the shit out of me, like this is not going to work just because your communication cadence and the way you work is not the way I work. But for another team member of mine, it might work really, really well. So right. That's why we collect this data on her being the perfectionist and her working style, her top traits, her like different vibes and her overview of how she best works is very important for us to understand based on the way the client operates.
So now let's be clear, stop right here. This is all done behind the scenes. You've interviewed the agent. You know what they're looking for. You've got all the details from them about their business, the client. Correct. And then you're going to be doing this behind the scenes and they're not going to see any of this until you narrow it down to the 3 or 4 people.
Correct. Yep, exactly. And then on the evaluation, I can see like, for me, I could see requirement match, right? So like, sometimes you get a little bit granular, real estate industry experience, check. Experience here, check. So it says right here, X. So then I look at it, it says phone-based experience, profile emphasizes client community consultation, but she didn't say phone in her resume. So I didn't infer that like, she has phone, but she didn't put phone-based sales in her, her keywords. So it didn't identify it. But then if I go into JD fit, which is to the job, she's a very strong fit and it says why she's a strength for it, any potential gaps and risks. Her day one, this is her actual evaluation. So here's her video walkthrough, walking through the day one simulation. So like I can press play and I can click in it.
So you're saying that video walkthrough is literally that VA, that's candidate recording themselves going through the day one process. So that's a
Correct.
really
Yeah,
detailed person. They're not just doing it and then recording themselves doing AI. Or
no,
something.
she's walking. You guys can't hear it. She's walking me through her thinking behind her answers. So like these are all of her answers. So like deliverable answer, right? You know, deliverable answer, deliverable answer. So like I could see the way she works now, you know, how she used AI in the process, right? Like this is also very important for me to understand, you know, and then for my match page. So like if I click generate match page, you guys will see, this is what our clients will see. When like, this is like, you don't see my back end, of course. This is like, I'm showing you guys from like a compatibility, what it shows me that she's a strong fit based off different criteria. So like, it's not just that like the resume looks good. You got to understand like, that's like a 10% thing of it, right? There's like, could she perform well? Does she fit the job requirement? Does she fit the operating profile of the client? Does she match the requirements? So then now that I understand that Joan is like the good person there, I gotta update my cloud thing. Then we'll get a match page on Joan specifically, and then that's what we present to the candidate more specifically. And we do this for all of our jobs. So if I ever create a job, you know, for any of our clients, it's like a really cohesive job. You'll get a really cohesive job description. You're going to get a very specific mock simulation of the role. We'll talk about what requirements are most important to you, and then that will help us evaluate candidates.
So
and
the thing
it's
that I saw was I relate you to, you are the only true headhunting company for these kind of positions for real estate agents and teams and brokerages, because I've never seen a company say they vet the candidates, but they really don't. They go out and they get a bunch of people to sign up as VAs, and
I know that, yeah,
put them through a test or something.
Yeah, the industry. I know the industry well, and I told Yvonne very transparently. I used to do it that way. Like it's not hard to get candidates in. Like I could even show you my dashboard. I got 2,200 candidates in the last 7 days.
The last 7 days, 2,200 candidates.
Yeah, yeah, it's right here.
So then tell me something. Go ahead.
And we just launched this platform. Like it's like a newer platform we launched, but like you guys can see right here.
Look at that.
This is 7 days, but look at the difference. Applied and submitted are very different.
Yep.
So it's 2,000 people applied, but only 310 actually submitted the entire process, which is a very telling number.
Yep.
For me,
so
more specifically, because like Yvonne, yeah.
So knowing that they're going through this kind of a regiment, that they have to pass a lot, like the gauntlet, they call it the gauntlet, right? They got to go through the gauntlet.
Yeah, gauntlet.
It's recommended. So then what are the top reasons that one of your delegates might fail once they're placed?
Sometimes, yeah. Oh, you mean after they're placed? Why
after
they might fail?
Placed.
It could be a various amount of things. I mean, the operating profile is really telling because we like to make it where they operate complementary. Where I've seen it's like more of a friction standpoint is like when we do our onboarding integration calls with clients, is like our clients said they needed one thing, but they really needed something else, which is unfortunate. So they think they're hiring for one thing, but they really need something else. To a lack of organization on systems, processes, tools, and platforms, where like, you know, they don't give them access. They don't know it. Like they've never done the job themselves. So they're like almost hiring for a job they're not familiar with. So
okay, I'm going to land on that one right there, because I have some deeper questions to go in. So
yeah.
That means, and Laith and I talked about this a fairly decent amount. You all have the perfect client as a buyer or seller that you work with. You have the perfect client. You know which one they are. You know what they look like. Okay. All of us in business have an avatar of the perfect client. Okay. You should, if you don't, so that you attract those perfect clients. A perfect client to Laith is going to probably be somebody, and it would be, you know, a realtor that understands and can communicate what they already have and what they don't. So like Laith, would you not work with somebody who says, listen, I'm closing 30 deals a year, 40, and I'm on track to do 40 now by myself. And I just do it off the cuff and have never set anything up. And I just attract business, right? Can you help me? Is that somebody that could end up being a perfect client for you? Or could you hire them somebody that could actually set up their foundations that they don't have the time nor the energy or bandwidth to do?
Avatar wise, that they need an integrator, right? So like they've been running kind of acapella in their head, on their iPhone, in their iMessage for 15, 20 years. They have a great business, but they're getting tapped. They're working long hours. They're burnt out. This probably sounds like almost every agent, right? They live in their iPhone. And
Julie's laughing.
Yeah. She's like, I don't do that. I'm really super organized. My CRM is great. But like, that happens with a lot of agents and brokers. It's like, and understandably, and like, I understand that in a way where they're not operators. You guys are good at sales, you're good at client relationships. So like, it'd be kind of weird if you told me that you built automations in your CRM. I'd be like, oh, then maybe you shouldn't be in sales. Maybe you should be an operator. But like, I would say as long as it's transparently told, like, hey, like I don't have my shit together. I'm like, great. Then you probably need somebody to help you get your shit together. You need somebody that can help you with the systems and organization and processes and checklists and all that kind of stuff.
And you have placed unicorn VAs in that specific type of level job.
Yes.
And can be done from afar. I have one question in that. What's the communication look like then?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the smartest way of doing it, like what I've seen, is I literally, like, when you hire somebody in that capacity, it sounds really weird, but like you literally just have them shadow you for the week, like just on Zoom, like having you hear conversations. They hear conversations. They watch you work. They see how you work, and then they go, "Oh my god, holy shit!" Like that whole week, like she didn't log anything. Where is this living? She's got a new listing.
He doesn't know how to find his tabs on his Mac.
I would just CC them on all your emails and have them join all your calls and literally just have them observe, honestly, because after that week is going to be very telling. They're going to be like, oh my God, she didn't document anything. She didn't put it anywhere. Literally lives in her, like, we need to, like, she pays for follow-up, boss. She didn't even use it this week. And that happens, I think, pretty often. Or, okay, like, hey, you got a new listing. Where's your checklist? Oh, I don't have a checklist. Well, what are the things in which you do? And then you just vocalize it. Oh, I do this, I do this, I do. Okay, well, I'm going to create a checklist for you. So that way, for every listing, this is a very standard process, right? So I think the observation curve is important.
You can't just put a VA from any company, from anywhere, or from Online Jobs PH that you vetted yourself. You can't just dump somebody into that seat. They have to have that real estate background as well. Right? They have to have already done it for somebody else.
And I think you also have to be honest, right, with the talent and say, like, hey, look, this is a high producing agent or team or whoever it may be. They do 40, 50 deals, a year. You need to have experience building from scratch. Do you have experience building from scratch? Great. If you don't, then this is not going to work for you either, right? You need to have experience building from scratch. I think you got to be super honest and transparent with, like, the job description and talent. This is a job where you will be building from scratch. Or there's the other agents where they go, I have systems, I have processes, I have the tools and platforms, but I just don't have the time to do it myself anymore. And I need somebody to do it. Or my team is, like, wasting their time doing that stuff and I need additional support. Like, so it's really two sides.
Let's go with that one. Let's go with that scenario. Somebody's got some base foundation stuff, or they're working in systems that they built themselves. And they really need to get out of being hands-on everything. They might have a couple of agents even working with them. Now they're the other agents' assistants as well, because nobody else can do the systems that they set up. So they have their CRM, they have their transaction management system, they have all of that. What kind of training do you give as a company? Because keep in mind, you guys, you're hiring a company like Assistantly and paying this person through them. You're not paying direct. So they are the employer of record. Okay. You're hiring a product, basically. So now Assistantly, what kind of training does Assistantly give them on do they have somewhere to go if they have a question about how do I do this?
Yeah, I mean, so the tough part is, like, every real estate client, not every, but a lot of the real estate clients have what, they work with a different tech stack. Follow Boss is very popular, but, like, one person's in California, one's in Florida, one's in New York. So to create standardized training is a little bit difficult. But the thing is, like, we have so many real estate operators or real estate talent that are currently working with our clients that, like, we have a really great support kind of group where, like, you could be like, hey, has anybody, done follow-up boss automations, with email marketing, right? And somebody can ask that question and then there'll be like an immediate answer. And then, like, you can hop on a call with that talent. They'll show you how to do it. It's really, really great. I think, like, for example,
it's a big mastermind that you have access to people that will help you do stuff.
Somebody even asked today, they're like, hey, I got hired as a transaction coordinator. I've had California experience, mainly Northern California. Does anybody have Southern California transaction experience? Just because I want to understand some of the nuance. And somebody goes, yep, I have it. Let's jump on a call. And I know her she's great. She had like 60 transactions alone by herself. I was like, great. I was like thinking that KN would respond. I was hoping she would. And she like immediately responded. And then she's like, yeah, and that's great to have that kind of support. Cause like, even if you hire locally, I don't know where they're going to go.
No, they're in a funnel. They're in a tunnel. They're by themselves. Yeah.
By themselves.
So that's great. Now, how is AI changing the value of the offshore virtual assistant operations person?
Yeah. Great question. I mean, I try to think of it as, I don't really use the word like VA as heavy. I know it's like a really big keyword, just from global. And because when people think of virtual assistant, they think of like low level, entry level type of people that you don't pay very well. I think of it as like, executive assistant, chief of staff, real estate operations manager, marketing assistant, marketing manager, transaction coordinator, listing coordinator. Like the same way that you would consider the people that you hire US is the exact same way I would think of the way you hire people in the Philippines or globally. So I think once you figure out that, like, you mentally switch that, you'll be like, oh, okay, like that makes it easier for me to wrap my head around that. There's good talent everywhere, great talent everywhere, but you just have to be open-minded. You can't be limited to being like, well, my LC could only be US based. Yeah, but I could challenge you on that and be like, well, I have an LC that manages 72 agents by herself, and she's from the Philippines, and she works for a team in Calabasas that does $400 or $500 million a year. So like, I've seen it. So like, I have proof in pudding. I'm like a proof over promise. Like, I'm not going to promise anything I can't prove. I think that's very important.
So when you bring them in and then they're using AI is just kind of a normal thing. It's not like even a thing anymore. It's they have to use it.
Well, no one that works for us doesn't doesn't not know AI. Like, you have to, like, that's why we even use the AI usage is like you have to know how to utilize AI, and because it helps you makes you more efficient and effective. And the other thing is, like, I talked this with my CMO right before this. It's not that AI is going to replace humans, but I think AI will replace the head count, meaning that, like, you're not going to need 10 or 15 people anymore. You might need 3 to 5, which is really great, AI usage and AI implementation. Yeah, you get 3 to 5 really just strategic implementers and integrators that use AI in their daily processes.
Let's talk about the number of people that you need. So this ops manager at the unicorn level that you vet and bring in, and they are solid. Do they end up basically building out teams under them? So like when I coach to an ops manager, it doesn't matter where they're located in the world. However, that ops manager is overseeing a TC, an LC, and a marketing coordinator. So now there's some structure to the org chart. Do you have those level of people that then end up saying, hey, to the team lead or the agent or the broker, just say, hey, I need a marketing coordinator, so I'm going to go hire another one of me, and they're going to be working under me?
Yeah. I say typically the best first hire, if you don't have one, is like an EA, right? Somebody like right hand that is kind of Swiss Army knife-ish a little bit, that is like handling different things in different buckets. What's going to happen as you grow and scale, that person's going to be tapped. So then go, okay, now you move that EA from EA to like chief of staff or operations. And now they're looking over the higher level things. And because you got to understand, they've done the job.
Right.
So they know what good looks like. So they could be like, but I don't have capacity anymore to do all of it, Julie. So like, we need a marketing person to really support us here. Right. And when you have the marketing person, now you're not even training on the marketing. They're training on the marketing, which is even more advantageous. And like, no one's like looking to scale headcount 5, 10, 15, but I've seen it where they start off EA, get into ops, and they go, okay, now they're ops. Now we're hiring a marketing person. Now we're hiring a CRM specialist, or we're hiring a TC or an LC. Not like, crazy. And I'd say like, if you're more of like an agent, like an EA and a marketer really is more than sufficient.
So that leads me to, payment. So when we start talking about that kind of developing out of people, if we were not talking about international talent, we would be talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries. And that's not the case anymore. And so you could literally have a whole structured team with all of those positions for under $100,000. I mean, or somewhere around $100,000. So the concept, and here's the catch, you guys, we got really used to paying $4 an hour for, the VA. The problem is that we were not getting the higher level talent because they weren't going through a vetting process as what Laith does. The second thing is that we were dumping everything on them. They did every perspective of our business. I got one person, they work 40 hours a week, and they're doing my transaction coordinating, listing coordinating, marketing. Okay. However, they never really grasped all of it great. So that means you still are delegating and still barking orders on how to do things. So even it doesn't matter if they're across the world, you're still doing it as if they're sitting next to you. So now though, even a normal VA that's out there, you go to some company and they go, yeah, here's your new marketing coordinator. You're not paying $4 an hour anymore. If you go through a company, you're paying higher than that because the talent in those countries are getting raises. Okay. So when I asked Laith, what's the cost of going through a company like yours? I was expecting higher, to believe me. And when he said, oh, that was it. So Laith, starting out, let's say I'm getting an executive admin, it's my first hire, and they're going to help me build my foundations. What is that?
Yeah,
and it's 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday, my time zone, by the way. If any of you have assistants or help that are not working on your time zone, that is the kiss of death. They need to work in your time zone, in my opinion. That's a coach opinion. Laith might feel differently. I don't know.
No, I agree. No, I agree. I mean, I would say, you guys saw even that candidate that I showed you guys was 15 an hour. That's like my cost, right? So like, I showed you guys honest and transparent information. Like, you guys saw her desired hourly rate is. So if you look at 15 times 160, that's $2,400 a month. That's my cost, right? So like, and I told Yvonne, look, like for an EA or some of those like, kind of right-hand roles, it's anywhere from like $2,800 to $3,000 a month, a little bit more, a little bit less. So for about like $36,000 a year, you can get a good right hand, which is really, really great. When you get into marketing, probably similar costs, anywhere from $3,000, $3,200, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. So like, to her point of like, sometimes a US salary can cost you about $100,000. I have, a client that has a right hand. She was his right hand that turned into an LC, a TC, a marketer for like $100,000 for those three people. But they don't, but the crazy part is like, I don't know how he did it the way he did. I think and he's a little bit odd of the case, but they do it for a team of 70 agents, which is absurd. It's not just him. It's like so he's like, when he came to me, he was extremely not profitable. Like, I think he was almost like about to close his business down. It was like, he had 100, his operations person alone was 180. His TC alone was 150. Yeah. So like, and he has, some US based stuff. I have US based stuff. I'm not not an advocate for hiring US, by the way. Like, I have my own US team and all three of them get paid 6 figures, but I put them in the right functions, and underneath each of their departments, they have a full team from the Philippines. And even recently now, even Nairobi, Kenya, where they have like a whole team underneath them. And actually, I like to keep my internal team operations small. Like, we're a relatively pretty good sized company rev wise, and we only have 10 people. There you go. So like, it's not about the headcount. It's about the right people in the right places.
It's not. So now let's move into the realtor. Let's move into what they need to be. So first off, how much time should an agent expect to put in and invest the first 90 days of having this new hire? And the first thing I would preface this with is, I always say sometimes we have to be somebody we're not to be successful at growing what we know we can do, right? And when we're being somebody we're not, we have to put the time in. So what do you think? What's the change of a productive agent? What do they have to do to change to actually be successful with this hire?
I think when people think of hiring, they think of it as like I'm already busy myself. Now I have to go hire somebody. That's a lot of work. But then I have to onboard. That's a lot of work. Then I kind of have to train them on my stuff. That's a lot of work. I'm already tired. I'm already busy. And then you just don't end up doing it. But then you're like in this like flywheel, hamster wheel of like, well, you're doing it yourself. You're doing it yourself. You're doing it yourself. So how can you possibly grow? When you think of it as like, it's like, I don't like to use the word, it's like temporary, I don't like to use the word pain, but it's like, hey.
But it's temporary pain.
I'm pretty honest.
It's like it's going through labor, right? Everybody says you want to have a baby right after you have labor and you have your baby. You don't want to have a baby because the pain, and then it disappears. And then 30 days later, you want to have another baby. So,
like labor sounds like, I have a toddler and we're about to have a second, in another second. So it's like when you think about labor, that's where it gets like, I think of it like the dentist, right? Like it's about an hour or two, it hurts. And then you're like, you came in with some pain. You're like, shit, Mike, I think I have cavities. They fix the cavities. And you're like, I feel a lot better. It's very similar where when you hire somebody, like there's like I would say that realistically, there's like a 2-week ramp up of really just understanding how you guys work together, them observing, them giving you fresh eyes on the business. Typically I would say for the first 30 days, you allocate at least like, I don't know, 2 to 5 hours a week with the person. It could be less, could be a little bit more if you really want to be involved, but I'd honestly say for like the first 30 days, like so for the first 4 weeks, I don't think you need the first 90 days. 90 days is actually like, that's a lot. But it's that first 2 weeks to 30 days is like the most important. And then the rest is just more tweaking and adding and subtracting. But if you're willing to take that like 2 weeks to 30 days to really get somebody on board, you get like unlocked, like you're like super unlocked on growth. And it really is important to you. Everybody wants to like, how can I generate more money? How can I save more time? How can I keep growing? How can I have a bigger brand? Like everybody wants all of those. That's the thing. But like, you got to start somewhere. So, most people, honestly, when I work with a lot of agents, you'd think it's a money thing. It's a time thing. It's a time thing. Like they got families. They're like working until 8:00 at night. They're working on the weekends. They have like no time. Like this easily is like the easiest time unlocked for you.
So if before this anyone hires somebody, how do you determine that person is actually ready for one of your hires? And what does the agent have to have in place? What do you request of them?
Yeah, I mean, I just clarity on like, I like to understand when I understand role and responsibilities of like, what are like the 3 things that are like that you are currently doing or you want somebody to do that will relieve you of this pain right now. So like, let's not talk about 10 or 15 or 20 responsibilities. Let's talk about like the 2 or 3 or 4 main things like right now that we like, let's focus on those things. And then we can talk about what the growth kind of pattern looks like. And,
so with that, I'm gonna stop you right there. So everybody, if you have the ability to type in the chat or raise your hand and say it out loud, I want to know what is one thing that you right now know you want to delegate to somebody else. Can be any part of your business. Type it in the chat.
Yeah, it could be anything from like CRM to marketing to email calendar management to client communication. Those are like
getting my wife out of the marketing role. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, those are all great things. I know a lot of kids or wives or husbands.
Website oversight and build out and managing.
Yeah, there's some like, and that's like for, and like, I always say, when I say 3 or 4, typically 3.
Custom marketing pieces via AI. We've been using Claude and would like to outsource this. Creating blogs.
Blogs are great now for SEO and AEO. That's why we skyrocketed.
Natalie knows about that. Yeah. That was a good one, Natalie, that you told me. Natalie got a couple of really great leads on really big deals just by triggering
awesome.
her new AI based website. So,
sweet. Love it.
Yeah. So website oversight, you guys, these are all things that are super easy to delegate if the person coming into that seat has done it before and has experience doing it. Then you're not training them. You're not paying them for time that you have to tell them how to do it when you don't even probably know how to do it all the way. That's the key, is like what I said, we haven't done the work. So you have to be honest when you're applying, if you decide to do that, with, hey, I've never done it. I've not done a blog post. I've not done this. I've not done that. I didn't build my Claude, program. Somebody else did, and we're just still using it, So be honest when you're actually looking for that. I'd like a fully thought out list around all of this, all the things a VA can do. Not a VA anymore. We're going to change the terminology. An executive admin.
I would say, to go to that point, I mean, this is an interesting answer. They can do anything that you want them to do, but it's also what's important to you on the things you want to take off your plate. So, like if you hire an assistant, they can do your emails, they can do your CRM, they can do your client follow up, could they cook, clean, do your laundry? No, because that's in person. But anything remotely that can be done, they can do. But it's also like narrowing the scope, right? So if it's like website, blogs, social, we're like, okay, now we've got 3 things. Yeah, marketing, we're great. If it's emails, CRM, prospect communication, I'm like, okay, EA, kind of right hand. If it's systems, processes, I'm like, okay, operations. Like we put it in these buckets. And I think of buckets, and you can think of it as like really 3 buckets if you want to make it super simple. There's admin, there's operations, and then there's marketing.
That's right.
So really, 100%. Like which bucket do you want to? Everybody's like, I want all 3. Well,
So when you want all 3, you have to say which one is the one that you need most. So if you guys are still, if you have a TC that is remote anywhere and you pay them per transaction, I will tell you, I'll repeat myself over and over again, that is broker compliance. That is not a TC that works for you. What a TC that works for you does, they actually reach out to your lenders and your title companies and your closing attorneys and your buyers and your sellers and your cooperating agents. They create raving fans for you. They process your file like clockwork, okay? They schedule appointments for you, like as in appraisal appointments, showing appointments. They schedule photography appointments and staging appointments. If you're still doing all of that, start there, because you can find that person who can do that from anywhere in the world with products like Listed Kit and Next and proprietary to your way of doing your deals. Same with listing coordination. So a TCLC combo can be one person. And as long as you're under about, 50, 60 deals a year, that one person is going to handle all of that for you on the TCLC side, because they do it from behind 2 screens. And if they have phone access, that's even better. Your TCs that work for $400 a deal are not calling anybody unless they have to. They hate it though. And they're not.
They also work on that. Yeah. They also work on a, you got to understand, like, nothing is better than a dedicated person to you and only you. When you hire a TC, you're one of, I don't know how many clients, they're the transaction, and then like, see you later. When you have a TCLC, it's like, they're you, only you. They really, like, the level of care and services, I also think is a little bit more on a higher level. When you have an admin or a right-hand EA, they're like more responsive. They're like really involved in your business. Like, I don't hire part-time. I don't do product-based with the way we operate. Cause I'm a full believer, when you hire somebody full-time, you get the most out of it. And people are like, well, I don't have 40 hours of work. Trust me, maybe you might not in the initial beginning. You do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
That's why you're hiring in the first place. And part-time, you want somebody like 8 to 5, 9 to 6, Monday to Friday. Like, you want them on your schedule. You want somebody that like you can, rely on, and that could be your support arm. So that's all very important things.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Any questions for Laith? Anything I left out?
Yes, Julie, I see your finger.
Okay. Is there a contract?
Yes, great question. So we run on a 90-day commitment. It's only 90 days, and then it goes month to month from there. Billing is monthly. So it's not, we don't require like 90 days up front. But I do like people to understand that, I do 90 days because I truly believe like 90 days is like where you see that kind of inflection point. But too, like, let's say, for example, you're not stuck with that person if you're not happy for any reason though either. So like we do offer a free replacement quality assurance guarantee at any given time. Rarely happens, but just to make sure our clients are taken care of. But we, for positions like this, like rarely miss the mark. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Good question. Lastly,
upfront fees. Sorry, there was one more question. No upfront fees. We do require a deposit, $4.99 deposit to get started, just to make sure clients are serious about the process because we only take a certain amount of clients per month. That's applied to your first month billing. There's no like setup or like kind of fluff onboarding fees that we have.
I also talked to Laith about once you get to the point where you're down to the candidates that he is now, they've gone through his gauntlet and he's sending them to you, that if you are a coaching client of mine, I can actually get involved in checking that. Plus, Laith, tell me about disc profiles. Tell me, do you do anything with those kind of things?
I ran DISC, Myers-Briggs, predicted index. No,
I can see
I don't like
topic you love.
I hate personality assessments. We did the operating profile for a reason, because I like when I look at hiring, I'm like, can you perform? Can you perform at a high level? That's like number one important. So like, cool, you ran a DISC, but they can't perform. So what does it matter, right? That's already doesn't mean anything. The operating profile is kind of in placement of the DISC but like what's really important is like personality. Like, oh, okay, like, yeah, sure, but like it's how you operate, which may actually make somebody that works for you even more of a fruitful conversation. So when like I know like the DISC was, even when I started in the industry, they're like I used to use DISC and ID, and I think I'm an ID. I don't even know what that means anymore. And then like you want to get matched with an SCG, EFR. But like, and I use the predictive index too. Yeah. I don't. They have all these.
So what's interesting about that? I'm not going to throw my knowledge of discs out the window. But I have always said it's only like 20% of the actual hiring process because you need to know what they know and you need to know kind of what their background is. So that's like 80%. So your program and putting it through the gauntlet, to me, when I was thinking the way my brain works, I was like, he's covering the other 80% that we really can't confirm from a disc, right? We can know if they're an operator or if they're more chatty Cathy and things like that. So that's important. And then also, I had one last question I was going to ask, and now I don't remember what it was. We covered that if they don't have their foundations or tech stack or things like that, that your people would have knowledge and background around that. So if somebody comes, if I hire one of them, if I hire the executive admin and I say, how am I going to communicate with you? Can we text? And they're going to go, no. You have Google Workspace. Let's work inside that. You're going to create my email address, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to chat. And it's all part of your Google Workspace. They'll have those solutions, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I always say that one, like the best tools are the ones that you use, right? So like, don't get a whole bunch of unnecessary tools. You follow us and, all these different things if you don't actually use them. Sometimes it's Google Sheets, and that's fine. If that's what you want to use and that's what you actually use, that's great. For communication, it's also like, are you a texter? If you're a texter, then have them, you could get them a phone number. It's really easy to do it. And you could text and call them. If you're like, cool GChat, let's use GChat. If you're like, I like Slack, let's use Slack. If you want to be like, hey, I use WhatsApp, use WhatsApp. Like I always say, like, any like less friction for you when you hire somebody, the better. So if you're like, I'm on my phone all day messaging on WhatsApp and iMessage is easy, run with that. Don't be like, okay, can you get me Slack? I've never used it before. Can you configure the channels? And because you're just going to be pissed and frustrated that you have another thing that you have to check.
Okay, April asked, hi April. So your hire would be able to create a CRM from scratch. Who decides on what CRM program to use? I wasn't happy with the first person you connected me with, I know we can change people. Can this be done more than twice, or is there a limit? So CRM question first. What's your suggestion around that?
Yeah, I mean, the CRM is not a hard. I'm sure, like I'm hoping your data lives somewhere, right? So they can just migrate that data to an actual system. On the who decides on what CRM, if you're like, hey, I really want to go to Follow Up Boss, great. Then you'd probably want somebody that has that foundation of knowledge. If you're like, I don't know what I don't know, then I would have them give you recommendations and reasoning why they are suggesting those and how they're looking to implement their implementation plan. That's to answer your CRM question. If you're not happy with the first person, yes, you could change people. Can this be done more than twice? Honestly, in 6 years, I've never had it happen more than so I can't. It's like, that's probably a good thing to say, but like I have never had experience with it. If someone's like, hey, this third person, then I'm starting to evaluate. Like, okay, that would be a really weird thing.
Side of the deal.
It could be. As a talent, as a client, we also are like really good on like we do alignment calls, like because every client gets their own success manager, every talent gets their own success manager, and like we'll be like, okay, if something is not aligning, like even from the get go, we're like, let's get on an alignment call, because sometimes clients will be like, hey, CSM, can you tell my talent that this, and this is not working? And I'm like, did you tell your talent that this is not working? Right. And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, you should do that first.
Maybe you should communicate with your talent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And April, if you need to know, my theory, and I'll just tell you, my theory on CRMs is this: there are tons of them out there. I believe you should look at all of them. And the very first thing, and I've said this for years, is if you don't like the user interface, if your eyes don't like the look of the product, you will not use it. So you need to know, you need to go demo them and demo them all. And when you demo them, you're looking for certain things. Is it user interface friendly to you? Do you like looking at it? Will it integrate with other products? So that's kind of the regular rules of CRM base. I am a Follow Boss user. However, I'm always looking for the next best thing. And Follow Boss just rolled out Zillow Pro, which is a whole program that is affecting certain groups of people that are flex people in Follow Boss. And I don't know how it will affect the program itself. But I'm always looking, SureSend is the new kid on the block. There's a lot of them out there. I do not believe in buying products that are not real estate related. I've done it and it's not fun. Go High Level, HubSpot, hard to build out, but maybe you have a talent, maybe you hire a talent that can teach you how to use a product that is not real estate related. Be careful, because if that talent goes away or you let them go, you're stuck with that product. Okay. So again, it has to be your product. No problem. Thanks, April, for being here. Long time no see. So, all right. Any other questions before I let Laith go? Laith, thank you for being here. I just felt that your product needed to be seen, and by some of the higher level people that I associate with in the industry, because we can't be constantly tripping over the menial, mundane work that is required in real estate when you can go sell more property or go sit on the porch like Natalie and have a cocktail, and not have to always be working. So
I want to be like Natalie. That's how everybody wants to be like Natalie.
I love it. All right, you guys, thank you very much. Have a great week.